Hey everybody, welcome back to the STR investing community. We've still got Austin here with Techvestor. They manage over 150 properties. They've got some of the highest revenue properties in the industry, and he's broke down some really valuable tools when we're thinking about revenue management and how we can maximize our calendar, look at seasonality. And in this video, we're going to talk about our competitors' calendars and how we can look at the market and try to base what we're doing on what they're doing and outperform them. And so Austin, take us away, man. How do you look at those competitors and what do their calendars tell you about what they're doing?
So I'll jump back into PriceLabs. We're on the same page here, looking at the same property. There's this tab up here called Neighborhood Data. A lot of useful information in here. I'm going to scroll up to the top. Couple charts that I'll call out right away when we're talking about just how you're comparing versus your market. We already covered over here. If you set a base price, it's going to put you generally right in line with what PriceLabs thinks you should price that to be kind of middle of the road of the market. But there are a couple really interesting tools here. So I'm going to start with this first one: future prices and occupancy. What this is telling us, it's looking at how we're priced over the next 12 months compared to the market. Looking at this chart, this gray line here, the bottom of this gray line is the 25th percentile. Top of the gray line is 50th percentile. Top of this darker red line is 75th percentile. And then top of this light red line is the 90th percentile. Comparing that to this black line, that's where our property is currently priced. So I'm going to move my mouse just so you can see that whole view. You can see we have a discount strategy in place where we discount pretty aggressively as dates get closer, as you can see here. We kind of dip even closer to the 25th percentile as we get, those dates start approaching. What I know from looking at my calendar is that we've actually already booked all these dates. So it's telling us if these dates were unbooked, we would be that low. But I know we already booked those dates, so we're not actually priced that low. Looking out here, you can see we have a pretty wide spread of a lot of ups and downs. Our strategy is generally pricing our weekdays at the lower end of the market, really in most seasons, and pricing our weekends at the very top of the market. If it's a property like this home, just for some context, is pretty like upper end of the middle of the road, if that makes sense. It's not like a luxury home. It's not the highest performing 5-bedroom in the market, but it's not it's a well-designed 5-bedroom home that has some cool amenities. It's nothing super standout about it. So with that, again, we've had this home in this market for about 3 years. I've seen all the seasonality. I feel more confident in a strategy like this because I've seen it perform at this level in the past. So I know that our weekends, I can juice them even at the 90th or above the 90th percentile, especially farther out, and people are going to book it. And then I want to be a little bit more conservative with our weekdays. You can see I dip down to the 50th, even close to the 25th percentile, because I know I can try to hold our weekdays much higher. It's likely we're not going to book those weekdays at those rates. I just know because we've been in this market long enough. So point of this graph is it's a great visualization to just see kind of how you compare to the market overall. You want to look out for like standouts. I'm looking at this weekend here. It's some weekend in June. This might be a trigger for me if I see that. I'm like, why are we priced above the 90th percentile? Do I really want to be that high? Am I standing out? And that's going to be a trigger for me to go back into that calendar view and check that weekend and see, our price is too high. Do I need to come down a little bit? So this is just a great visualization tool.
That's super interesting. And PriceLabs is pulling all the data from all the competitors. So this is a snapshot at your market as a whole right off the rip, right?
Correct. Yep, it's everyone. It's not even just specific competitors, which I'll get into in a second. This is just the market as a whole. You can set your parameters up here. So this is actually looking at all 4 bedrooms into 6 bedrooms. If I want to change that, I usually do this. I would not select all of them, and I only want to look at 5 bedrooms. If I know I know in this market there's a good concentration of 5 bedrooms. If you're in a much smaller market, maybe there aren't enough comps. There's only a handful of 5 bedrooms, and you just want a larger data set. You might want to include some of the other bedroom counts. But you can see here that kind of narrowed us down a little bit. You can see most of our peaks aren't actually as high as it showed when we were looping in some 4 bedrooms that were bringing down the market. If that makes sense. So that it just kind of consolidates the data. And I know in this market, there's enough 5 bedrooms that I'd feel confident in this comparison.
That's awesome, man. Super cool. It's a super valuable tool. So what else are you guys doing here?
Yeah, so there are two tools in this neighborhood data set that I use. It's this future prices and occupancy. And then I scroll down here. I do kind of glance at some of these other things, but just for sake of where to focus, I use this competitor calendar. They've made a lot of improvements on PriceLabs to this over the past year or so. It's gotten to be a super powerful tool. So what are we looking at? You can see down here, our listing is right here. where this top line here, any day that is grayed and X'd out means it's unavailable or booked. Reason I say unavailable or booked and not just all booked is if, let's say you're going to stay there for the weekend and you blocked it off for yourself, but it's not a booking, it would still show it's crossed out in the same way. In this view, there's no way you can tell if it's a real booking or just blocked out days. That's important to call out because we have our competitors down here, and same thing applies for them. They can have some of their days crossed out. It doesn't mean they necessarily book those. We see some, if they block out 1 or 2 months at a time, that it might not be a real booking. It might just be they blocked the calendar for their own use or something like that. But just starting off here, I have 2 competitors picked out that I like to keep an eye on for this market. For this, again, it's a 5-bedroom in this market. I found 2 other, actually this one's a 4-bedroom that I priced against. This one down here is a 5-bedroom. How you use this is you click Manage Competitors and select Nearby Properties. Super cool tool. You can just scroll down. It pulls up based on those parameters you set at the top. I just reselected this to show only 5 bedrooms. So I'm scrolling down here. This shows me every other 5-bedroom and how close they are to our listing. So at the very top, it's going to show our closest. We have this one that's 0.3 kilometers away. This one's about 1 kilometer away, and so on. It organizes them in proximity to your 5-bedroom or to your home. They give you tons of these. You can just check them off if you want to add them to the data set. And then once they're added here, I like to do this to make sure, is it actually a fair competitor? Or is it maybe there's something about it that makes it's too high end for us, or it's not as good of a home as the one that we have. So I click this button here. It'll open up that listing. I just scroll through the pictures. I can see it's a generally well-designed home. Yep, inside, pretty consistent. Looks pretty updated. Then we get to the backyard. We have some amenities. We have a putting green. We have a pool. Looks a little bit luxurious with the hardscaping they did, the stamped pavers, and they have some nice outdoor furniture. So I like this one to compare against the one that I know we're pricing against, because ours is pretty similar. It's not the nicest home in the market, but it has some cool amenities and it's generally designed well. So
and
same
you get
thing.
to set your competitors. You get to set your competitors that you want.
Yep.
And so you can manually go through and be like, oh, this is a good comp to my property. I need to compare myself to how they price. Or, hey, this house is unusual. It doesn't match up. There's no point in looking at what they're doing. They've got a castle and I've got a, yeah.
Exactly. If you have a competitor that you want to add, you can click Add Manually. And this is a newer thing they rolled out. Super helpful. If let's say you're just scrolling through Airbnb and you're like, that one, I want to price against that one. That one looks super similar to my home. You can just paste the URL in here and it'll add that competitor to your competitor calendar. So then scrolling across here, we're looking at down to the day how we were priced compared to our competitors. So if I want to scroll out to when we have some more availability, let's look at like middle of March. I can see our prices were right around the upper 400s for these weekdays here, Sunday through Wednesday, that we still have available in March. I'm looking at these comps. I see this guy booked, or at least his dates are unavailable, so I'm assuming they booked right around the same prices. And this guy down here, this 5-bedroom, he's a little bit higher, but he's already booked. We're about a month out from there, so I want to start thinking about, do we need to start discounting our prices to make sure we get booked? I don't want those days to go unbooked. So I'm keeping those things in mind as I'm comparing. What did our competitors price at? How are we currently priced? And how close are we to those dates? Is it time to start discounting? Because I want to make sure we get those dates booked. You can go out a full 12 months on this calendar. Super helpful, especially as you get farther out and you just want to check. Let's look at some holidays. It's super far out, but I want to make sure we're not underselling all our holidays. I have my Thanksgiving here priced $1,100 to $1,300 per night. Our comps, again, I feel confident with this because we've had this home live for a few years and I've seen us actually book at this rate. I know our comps, they're underselling. They should be pricing higher because I know we're actually going to book closer to this rate. And I want to scroll ahead and look at some Christmas rates. Over here, same thing. Look, these guys already booked at around 600. They're at 700. They're not booked yet, but already booked at 600. We're almost a year out from Christmas and New Year's. I don't want to see us booked yet. That means we undersold. I'm going to hold my rates higher here because I know that we're going to get those because we've booked those rates in years past. And it also shows your minimum nightly stay compared to your competitors. So I can see we're at a 4-night minimum for Christmas and New Year's. These guys were at a 3, and these guys are at a 5.
That's awesome, man. Super helpful. I love that. And I love that you can set your comps. How many can you set? Can you set as many as you want?
I think we've gone up to 10 in some of ours. I'm not sure if there's
you can set quite a few comps.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, Austin, I appreciate it, man. This is super helpful to give us a visual for how we can look at what our competitors are doing. We can see what their calendars look like. We can see even how they price their properties up to a year in advance and make sure that you're setting up your pricing appropriately. And was there anything else you want to share around like your competitors and when you're just thinking about what they're doing versus what you're doing?
Yeah, when you're picking your competitors, I would just say what's going to be super important is looking at bedroom count is going to be one of the biggest driving factors. You don't want to have a 5-bedroom comparing against a 3-bedroom or 5-bedroom comparing against a 7-bedroom for the most part. There might be some exceptions there, but bedroom count is going to be, that's like the general bucket of where you want to compare against. Beyond that's going to be general design style and amenities. So if you just have a pool in your backyard, but you're looking at a competitor, maybe the home is similar, but they have a mini golf course, they have a pickleball court, some other crazy amenities in their backyard. That's an immediate disqualification, in my opinion. You want to price apples to apples as best you can.
Yeah, don't get caught up in trying to compete with a property that's not similar to your property, and be real about what your property is. This is not time to fluff yourself on and decide that you've got a better property than you have, or that you have a worse property than you have. And so what do you think about people that are like pricing their properties much lower when they're a comparable property to your property?
There are a lot of people leaving money on the table. Just even from this example that I went through. This has gone through trial and error for this property. Again, like I said, this one's been live for a few years. So when we first launched this property, we were priced more closer to what these comps are. Our weekends around, $400 or $500 because that's what they were pricing at. And we thought, we fit generally in this bucket, so we're going to price there. And then each year we push ourselves a little bit higher. Can we go 10% higher? Can we go 15% higher than these comps? And we've gotten to the point now where we're pricing 10, 15%. Some of these are like even 40% higher on the weekends than some of these comps, and we're still getting booked. So absolutely, there are some people that are leaving money on the table, just not having a true understanding of what people are going to pay for their home.
There you go. And that's why revenue management is so valuable, because you only get to book your house one time per night. And if you miss a few $100s here and a few $100s there, and you start stacking that up, that makes a huge difference in your total revenue for the calendar year. So this is super helpful, Austin. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing all of your insights and wisdom with us. And guys, we've got a complete library of all the resources that you need. This was a taste of revenue management. We'll be continuing bringing you all the education we can for free. And thanks for being the best part of the STR investing community.